Welcome to the channel. I'm a doctor. I've seen things that don't always fit into textbooks. It's moments that no protocol can prepare you for. Some of these stories are my own. Others were shared with me by colleagues, nurses, paramedics, people who, like me, carry the weight of these moments long after the shift ends. Medicine often demands urgency. Diagnose, treat, save. But sometimes it requires something else entirely. Listening. Because not everything urgent is physical, and sometimes the things we don't understand are the most important. This is the story of an elderly patient, confused, disoriented, showing signs of a possible stroke. A woman who kept whispering the same name over and over again, but no one, not even her own daughter, knew who he was. And in the middle of the medical chaos, I found myself having to choose, what do we treat first? The medical emergency, or the mystery that might explain everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon. One of those shifts where exhaustion becomes part of the hospital furniture. I'd worked the night before, and all I really wanted was a hot cup of coffee. We were overwhelmed. Minor emergencies, fevers, a few falls, hypertensive crises, and then came the sound of a siren. At first, I hoped it would pass by, that maybe it was heading for another hospital. But the sound got closer. And in came the ambulance, carrying an elderly woman, white hair, thin face, distant eyes. Beside her, her daughter clearly distressed. The paramedics briefed me quickly. Female patient, 82 years old, found disoriented at home. Speech is incoherent, but she keeps repeating a male name. No significant medical history. Family says she was fine just a few hours ago. Assessed her quickly. Vital signs were relatively stable. But her speech was clearly impaired. Facial asymmetry, some weakness on one side, classic signs of a neurological event, possibly a stroke. I leaned in, speaking slowly. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" She locked eyes with me, and then softly she whispered, "Matthew. Who is Matthew?" I asked. No answer, just the name again. Once, twice, 3 times. "Is he your husband? Your son?" Still nothing. Just that one word, and an expression that mixed fear with sorrow while we activated the stroke protocol monitors. Oxygen labs, urgent meds. I took a brief moment to speak with her daughter. She was sitting in the corner, clutching her bag, wringing her fingers, visibly shaken. "Who is Matthew?" I asked gently, trying not to worry her even more. She looked up at me, confused. "Matthew, are you sure that's what she said?" She's said it several times, clearly like she's calling out for him. The daughter furrowed her brow, trying to scan through a mental family tree that clearly had no Matthew. There's no one in the family by that name. There's no cousins, no uncles, not even old friends. It's completely unfamiliar. I saw that unease in her eyes, that uncomfortable realization that maybe we don't always know everything about the people we love. I pressed a bit more. Could he have been a caregiver? A neighbor? Someone from her past? Maybe an old mate? She shook her head firmly. My mom was always very private. But if there had been someone that important, surely she would have said something at some point. I've never heard that name before. Never. And while we talked in the background, the woman kept whispering, "Matthew, Matthew." There was something in her tone. It wasn't a cry. It wasn't just confusion. It was a plea. A whisper filled with need, as if saying that name was the only thing keeping her tethered to this world, and her eyes, sometimes vacant, would suddenly focus, like she was looking for someone who wasn't there. Not a blank stare, but one full of waiting, like she was waiting for him. For Matthew, I watched her for a few more seconds. For the first time that shift, I realized maybe the diagnosis, the meds, the protocol weren't the only things that needed tending. Because sometimes the body shouts what the heart has been silencing for decades, and I was starting to believe. That name wasn't just a DL Utah. The good news was that her vitals remained stable. I asked the daughter about medications. Any new supplements, home remedies, anything that might have triggered this? Nothing. We rushed her to CT scan. No hemorrhage. But signs of a recent ischemic stroke. Small, contained, but real. A confirmed cerebrovascular event. We initiated conservative management. Fluids, oxygen, meds, neurological monitoring. Everything was under control, but she stayed the same. She didn't recognize her daughter, didn't know what year it was, but she did know one thing. Matthew and I couldn't let it go. That name wasn't random, not to her, so. Between charting and monitors, I tried again, lowering my voice like I was reaching for a part of her that might still be awake. Matthew. Who is he, ma'am? Is he someone you love? And for the first time, a single tear rolled down her cheek. She didn't answer. But I knew this name mattered. The next day, she was doing better. Vitals stable. Speech improving. Still a bit slow, but she could form full sentences. Her voice was getting stronger, but her gaze remained heavy, as if something or someone was still pulling at her from far away. That afternoon, her daughter returned, this time more prepared. She brought an old canvas bag filled with memories, a vintage photo album, tasked with music from her mother's youth, some old letters, postcards, and a handkerchief embroidered with the year 1948. Her goal was clear: to stimulate her mother's memory, to bring her back, to anchor her. They sat together, slowly flipping through the pages. Sepia photos, people in suits and dresses that belonged to another time, faces that once were family, names long forgotten. And then, it happened. The elderly woman reached out and touched a photograph. A faded black and white picture. A young couple sitting on a park bench. He wore a simple suit. She, a light dress and tied-up hair. Both smiling, shyly, that kind of smile only new love brings. The mother rested her fingers on the image, and without taking her eyes off it, she whispered, "Matthew." The daughter looked at her, stunned. "Is that Matthew?" Her mother nodded slowly. Tears welled in her eyes. In a trembling, childlike voice, she said, "He is my first love." "Before your father?" "Long before." Silence. The daughter had never heard the name, never the story. "What happened to him, Mom?" And just like that, as if unlocking a door sealed shut for decades, she began to speak. Matthew was kind. He had the hands of a carpenter and eyes that noticed little things. He taught me to read poetry out loud. He wrote me letters. But my father didn't approve. "Too poor," he said. "No future." And back then, when your father said no, it was no. They forbade me from seeing him. And he left. She paused. Breathed deeply. "I met your father a year later. He was proper. Stable. He never hurt me. Took care of me. But I was no longer the same. A part of me never came back." The daughter swallowed hard. She never imagined that behind her mother's serene smile lived a quiet grief, a love unspoken. "Did you ever see him again?" The mother shook her head. "No, but in my mind, many times. Oh, I haven't in years." Matthew? A name buried in memory, not from forgetfulness, but from necessity. A love so strong, not even a stroke could erase it. On the contrary, it brought him back, as if her heart knew it was time to close that chapter. And there, in front of that unmarked photo, the daughter understood. Her mother wasn't confused. She was returning. It's the only place where something still remained unresolved. A goodbye that had never been said. A love that had no ending. And suddenly, it all made sense. Matthew wasn't a symptom. He was a story. A truth that had waited a lifetime to be told. Sometimes, what seems like a symptom is just a truth that's been hidden too long. The brain is a mystery, and when it breaks, it sometimes reveals what the heart has locked away. Matthew wasn't a hallucination. He wasn't confusion. He was a goodbye, a final whisper from a story left unfinished. And in this job, I've learned that not everything urgent is clinical, that humanity matters too. That sometimes a single name is the only thing keeping someone connected to who they truly are. If this story moved you or reminded you of a patient you'll never forget, I invite you to like, comment, and subscribe. Because here, in this channel, we don't just tell stories, we share them.